Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1982 drama, That Championship Season. Uh, Before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this film, I want to give a special shout out to Travis for requesting this review. And if there's another review of a film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me potentially discuss in the future, feel free to donate to my PayPal. The link will be in the video description down below, and I'll try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, That Championship Season is a drama that is based on a off-Broadway play of the same name, which is also created by Jason Miller, who wrote and directed this film. Now, Jason Miller is a name that you might be familiar with. He was one of the stars of The Exorcist. He actually played the priest opposite Max von Sydow's character in that film. And this is his only directorial credit in his career. And I will say this. I've seen worse efforts from first-time directors, but I've also seen efforts that are a lot better and a lot more dynamic. One of the reasons why I'm not too big on this movie at the end of the day is in large part due to the fact that this direction is so stodgy. It's so static. There are a lot of times where it feels like he's just shooting a version of the stage play. And when you were doing a movie, just approaching things from the same blocking perspective as you would a play is not always the best choice because it leads to scenes looking very flat. And it doesn't help either that he doesn't really have a lot of experience directing, so he doesn't really have a lot of techniques that he's aware of or has knowledge of. So a lot of the movie is a lot of medium shots or up close shots of people talking. There are very little sequences in terms of variety of movement of the camera or the placement of the camera. So a lot of scenes just look very flat and feel like they don't really have a lot of energy to them. Even scenes that have a lot of high drama and high emotion, because of the way that they're shot, the emotions and the drama, they're not really as impactful as I think they possibly could have been with a more accomplished, a more established director. And what's interesting is the original director was actually going to be William Friedkin. Speaking of The Exorcist, but something happened and he wasn't able to do it, so they had to go with a different director. And Jason Miller decided to step in and direct as well as write the adaptation of his play. And could have been worse, but at the same time, I do feel this film definitely does suffer from the lack of a established veteran presence behind the camera, especially for a drama like this. A lot of the best dramas I've seen are films that couple really dynamic, strong, interesting direction with strong powerhouse performances from the cast and a solid screenplay. Now, speaking of the script, this script, it's it's fine. It's serviceable for what it is. I do feel that it was a mistake not to have a flashback sequence in the beginning of the movie or scenes that were spliced in between the film of this championship basketball team when they were young. In fact, I found out that those scenes were actually shot, but the producer, Menahem Golan, he had them taken out because for whatever reason he felt like they didn't belong in the movie. And I'm like, what? Like, that really would have made the drama, really would have made what these kids grow up into so much more compelling. Without seeing that on camera, it's not nearly as effective to me. And I feel that that was a huge missed opportunity. And I don't know really where to lay the blame there because the script easily could have had that in there. But, you know, if it was cut, it seems like it did because they shot those scenes, but they were cut out by the producer because this was a canon film. In fact, this is one of the first canon films that was released by the studio that actually got some critical buzz. It didn't make much money in the box office at all, but it got some critical buzz, so it made people take canon a little more seriously. So it definitely did have a mark on history and might have led to canon getting more money for certain projects. So I think that's definitely a plus. And the script does a good job showcasing these characters as a deeply flawed individuals. Men whose glory days have long passed them by, men who cling on to the past and the glories of the past too tightly, and men who don't really understand or want to see the reality behind why they had that one moment in the sun when they were high schoolers and they won it all. And they also don't want to see the reality of the decisions that they've made in their lives to be in the positions that they are. And I do feel there are a lot of deeply human, strong emotions that are interspersed and spliced in between the pages of this script. And I think the drama here is definitely strong. You've got best friend who is revealed to be cheating on his friend's, cheating with his friend's wife. You know, that kind of stuff. You've got a group of friends who are involved in various different shady sort of things. One of them is involved with strip mining and doing things on the side that are probably illegal to make some extra dough. The other one is a corrupt politician. One of them is a total just drunk. The other is a uh, aging, sick, uh, basketball coach or former high school basketball coach who's clinging on to not only his glory days but also some really nasty opinions that are very outdated even in 1982. And you have another one who works at a school, but he feels like it's a dead end job, and he wants more, and he has bigger aspirations, and he wonders why he can't be the mayor instead of his friend. So you have a lot of that going on, and it's all connected with this reunion of these members of this high school basketball team from ages ago who are reuniting for their 24th anniversary of the big game. And I like the framing of the narrative, the friends who reunite for the anniversary. I like how a lot of drama unfolds from that, but I don't like a lot of these characters. And I think that is really where this script fails the most. That might have been the way it was in the play. If that was the case, I think maybe some things should have been changed a little bit. Maybe made a little bit of the rough edges with some of these characters a little less rough. Because, yes, I know that there are people like this who are anti Semitic, who are racist, even to this day. But it just made these characters very unlikable when you hear them say the N word multiple times, like it's nothing. Throw out anti-Semitic jabs, throw out Polish jokes. It just felt like one of those things where it's not that it made me want to cancel the movie or the people who made the film. It's just one of those things where I felt like those elements didn't really add much to these characters. It just detracted from the film and just made me like these characters even less and not care about their drama, not care about the stakes, not care about what happens, not care about whether or not they find a way to team up one last time to save the current mayor's job. Like I don't really care about that if a lot of them are just awful people. I just have to be honest. I mean, like I said, you got the one guy who's a strip miner. Phil Romano. He's a strip miner. He does a lot of illegal shit to make his money. You got George Stokowski, the mayor, who's a corrupt, just asshole politician. You've got James Daly, the guy who works at as a I think he works in education. And one of the scenes you see with him before he goes to the reunion is him treating this guy who works at the school like shit, and then the guy gets fired, and then the guy essentially threatens Daly that he's going to bring the union in, and I'm like, I'm supposed to root for this guy. I'm supposed to care about this guy when he's treating this other guy like shit. You have this corrupt politician who's a dickhead. You got Romano, who's a strip miner. You got the coach, Delaney, who's anti-Semitic and racist. The only one that seems like there is anything redeemable about them is the drunk, Tom Daly, who he's a total alcoholic. And even that is kind of undermined by the ending. That's another thing about this film I don't like. I don't like the ending. It just it's too sweet or charming of an ending for a movie that deals with heavy drama like this film does, because there's a revelation near the end of the movie that the reason why they even won the championship was tainted. The coach had one of their players, a player who, by the way, has never shown up for the reunion and doesn't show up and doesn't even show his face once during the entire running time. This player was tasked with beating up the other team's star player before the start of the second half. They were down by like 20 at halftime, and then the coach had one of their players go beat up the other team's star player to the point where he couldn't play. And then they came back, and then they had their miraculous come from behind victory, but it was all a lie. It was all based upon a violent act that took out the other team's star player. And I actually like that revelation, and I think the way that it's handled in the film is actually rather strong. I especially think that the writing for Tom in that scene when he's breaking down and he's showing his frustration and his angst at the coach and at everything for why this is even an anniversary and why this is even a thing is because of something so heinous, and he's just dealing with the grief and the guilt of it all. And I love the line of dialogue after he throws the trophy down. He says it's empty, and I thought that was fitting. But then by the end of the movie, they all like get together and they have a photograph, and they're gonna team up to try to save Stokowski's political career. And I'm like, this doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel like it's a victory that really rings true. It feels very hollow, and maybe that's the point. And I think with better execution, maybe that would maybe work out better than it does here. But yeah, it's one of those movies where there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of dialogue. That doesn't help either. Like, it definitely does feel like a play. Because there's a lot of scenes where a lot of moments take place in one room and with a lot of people talking back and forth, some arguing, some drama, some late night porch thinking, that kind of stuff. And there are some moments where I think the script does shine. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a total miss of a script, because you got moments where you have some nice lines of dialogue, some funny, witty bits of banter between the characters. You've got some really genuinely compelling moments of drama that definitely make you think about your own life. And I think there is a certain bittersweet and strong nature to these grown men clinging on to the glory days of high school basketball for as many years as they have. It's like, it's high school. Who gives a shit? It's not like it's college. It's not college basketball. You didn't win an NCAA championship. You didn't win an NBA title. So it's like one of those things where it's like, who really cares that you won a championship a while ago in a small town in the middle of nowhere? And I think that's the point. It's supposed to be one of those things where you juxtapose their reverence to this championship season with the reality of things. And there are some moments where that's very effective, but there's other moments where it just kind of falls flat, just like the direction. I think in large part really due to these characters. I don't care about the politician. I don't care about the strip miner. I don't care about the coach. I don't care about the asshole teacher. I don't care about these characters. So just do a little bit more in terms of making these characters a little more likable or less one dimensional. See, that's the other thing too. They felt very one dimensional because of just the focus on their less than desirable or moral qualities when you could have had, more of a balance. I think having the flashback scenes of them when they were kids playing high school basketball and winning the title, I think that would have helped a lot. I think you should have had more scenes of them when they were young and showing them build their friendship and showing moments where they were together and they had this bond that seemed inseparable, and then having a compare and contrast when it comes to what they grew up to be. And I think that would make the drama, would make what they have turned into all the more tragic, because as it is, you don't really have that sympathy. And I think that's something that's very key. It's a key piece to this script that is just not there for the most part, except for Tom. You feel for him because he just, for whatever reason, just things haven't worked out for him. He's had all these different chances in life, and a lot of things have just fallen through, sometimes even without him even being a part of it. And he just turns to the bottle, just like his father did. And it's something that I feel does provide some sympathy. And it also helps that he's a more interesting character because there's more to him. Like, you see him have that moment of realization that what they did was wrong when it comes, and you see him carry that guilt. But you never see that when it comes to any of these other characters. So, not the worst script, but I definitely feel it could have been better. The cast though is phenomenal, and that's what makes it kind of a letdown for me, is that the cast here is great. I mean, Robert Mitchum doesn't seem like the greatest guy though. Um, Robert Mitchum, I got a bit of trivia for you about Robert Mitchum. At the premiere of the film, he actually assaulted a female reporter and he threw a basketball at her, which was a prop from the movie. And she was a photographer from Time magazine. He also smashed a camera into her face and knocked two of her teeth out. Yeah, it seems like a real piece of shit. She then sued him for 30 million in damages. He eventually paid her his salary from the film, much deserved. You didn't deserve to earn a cent from this movie after that kind of thing. I remember when I saw that, I was like, wow, what a dick. Uh, so I had every reason not to like Robert Mitchum in this movie. Apparently, his character was initially going to be played by William Holden, but William Holden actually passed away before they were able to start filming the movie. So William Holden was replaced by Robert Mitchum, and I don't think William Holden would have assaulted a reporter at the premiere. Um, Lee Marvin was also considered for that role, but it ultimately didn't go to him. I guess Stacy Keach was actually originally cast as Father Karras, but Jason Miller got William Friedkin to audition for the role, and then he replaced Stacy Keach. And I didn't know that. That's interesting. Um, Jack Lemmon, I guess he tried to get James Cagney to star in his directorial debut of Koch. And then when that didn't work out, he tried to get him to star in his planned version of this play, but that didn't happen. Uh, wow, it seems like the salary for the actors here was more than the box office, because it made like $40,000. It made like $40,000 in the box office, and each of the stars got paid 250 grand. But yeah, it's a really good cast. Robert Mitchum, despite him being a piece of work, he was fine as coach. Did well with what he was supposed to do. Martin Sheen, though, he was magnificent. This is one of Martin Sheen's best acting roles. I recommend people to just watch this movie once just for Martin Sheen's performance. He was that good. I'm glad I saw this just for Martin Sheen's performance as Tom Daly. Stacy Keach, he was good too for what he was asked to do, to play this gruff, unlikable teacher who hates his job and wants to be mayor, and is tired of carrying his drunk brother around. Bruce Dern played a great asshole, played a great slimy politician as Stokowski. He's really good at those kind of roles, and this film is no exception. Paul Sorvino, he was good as this kind of mafia-esque strip miner, Phil Romano, who hides things in his strip mine and does all kinds of shady stuff, and also does bumps of cocaine on the side, because he doesn't like who he is, really. It's that kind of thing where he just wants to live the most lavish and rich lifestyle and do cocaine and do all and spend all of his money because that distracts him from the the horrible person that he's become. And there's also another actor who plays this guy named Mackin, named Arthur Franz. There's this other actor who played this young politician who's competing with Bruce Dern, trying to overtake his position in as mayor. I think it's Sharman. Yeah, I think his name is the actor is Barry Wiener. Um, but yeah, uh, good cast. I will definitely admit that good cast, and they do great jobs performance wise with what they're given when it comes to the script. The cinematography, John Bailey, not really anything that impressive. It's adequate. It's decent. So is the editing by Richard Halsey. The score by Bill Conti. It's not what I would consider one of his best scores, but it's still pretty good, pretty decent score. I think it fits the film well, especially when it's trying to go for some more nostalgic notes. Definitely fits when it comes to more of the heavy drama in the movie. But yeah, I really don't know what else to say about that championship season, except at the end of the day, I wasn't a really big fan of the movie. It's not a film I would consider to be a classic or a movie that I would really want to watch again or even add to my collection. But it's a film that had its moments. It wasn't a total waste. And I think if you like the trailer, if the idea of it interests you, I would recommend giving it a watch. If you're a diehard fan of Martin Sheen, I would absolutely recommend watching it if you haven't seen it yet. And yeah, despite some of the subject matter, which admittedly is a little uncomfortable nowadays, there are some good things to glean from this. There are some good performances, at the very least, that you can appreciate when it comes to that championship season. But anyway, thank you for watching my review. And as always, I'll see you later. See ya.